This episode comes with a trigger warning, but it isn't all sad. Today I'm talking to Michelle and Lisa Cast, and we talk about how they met, how they grew in their 25-year relationship together, how they became the parents that they are to Leo, and where they stand now on their family creation journey. It is a very layered conversation, and it is a difficult conversation to have. But to hear the love that they have for one another and their son just fills your heart. And ultimately, all you want is for their very deepest wishes to come true. Welcome to the Becoming Baby Ready podcast, your podcast for queer family planning. My name is Sam, and throughout this podcast, you'll hear me have conversations with professionals who work alongside people who want to start and grow their families, as well as parents of intentionally created families. Everyone I speak to identifies as being part of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. This is your opportunity to learn answers to questions you didn't even know you had. Welcome, everyone. Today, I am really excited to be able to introduce you to Michelle and Lisa. Welcome to the two of you. Would you please tell my listeners who you are and about the members of your family?
Sure. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Michelle,
And I'm Lisa.
and we have a 3-year-old, 3.5-year-old, almost 4-year-old son named Leo.
Excellent. And so tell everybody a little bit about the two of you before your son and how you met and fell in love and decided to take this crazy, crazy journey together.
We certainly will. Our journey without Leo is longer than our journey with him because we've been together as of this February, it will be 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Married for 15. I forget like what year it is and what day it is most days.
I know I can only remember those milestone numbers. Now, once we go from there, I'm going to start getting confused because this is the easiest way to say it. It is the easiest way to say it because it's been forever.
Very long time.
Yeah, Michelle and I met when we were 18. We were in our second semester freshman year of college, and we were in Manhattan, both invited to see the Rocky Horror Show revival on Broadway in 2001.
Mhm.
And it was February of 2001. And we had a mutual friend. It wasn't a setup because in 2001, nobody was really out, or I wasn't out. But people weren't as, open and progressive about their sexuality at that time.
Mhm.
And
We were also
so,
18, so we weren't as
right.
aware, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was aware Michelle was just fluid and she
Yeah.
was like, I'm just seeing where life takes me. And I was all balled up about my sexuality. So that was coming out of the closet wasn't in the cards for me, or so I thought. And so Michelle walked into the theater at Circle in the Square in Manhattan. And I actually had never wanted to meet her. I knew of her. But I never wanted to meet her because I saw a picture of her and I was overwhelmed by the amount of confidence that she exuded just from a photograph. And I was very insecure. And that, yeah, again, the universe wasn't having it. So Michelle walked into the theater and I turned to my friend Caitlin and I was like, what's happening here? And she was like, oh, Michelle is here. And I was like, awesome. And the rest is kind of history.
Well, it was one of those moments where like we both knew of each other. We were big theater nerds. Like we said, we had a mutual friend. And so Caitlin just invited everyone to come to the show. And Lisa, while I was talking to Caitlin, she had been sitting to the side and she looked at me and she said, hi, I'm Lisa. And so at the time we were theater nerds, like I said, and we were on the AOL theater chat. So I knew her as her screen name. So I said, Lisa Suisa. And she was like, that's me. And so in my mind, I was like, that's not the girl I pictured Lisa Suisa to be. She's so cute. She's a beautiful girl. I mean, as I actually called our friend Caitlin that night and I was like, Lisa's like the most naturally beautiful girl I've ever seen. And our friend Caitlin, knowing me, knowing my fluidity, was like, oh no, Michelle, please don't do this to me. And I was like, what? We're just gonna hang out. We went to neighboring colleges and I was like, we should get together. And Lisa was like, by the end of the show, I was like, we should get together. And Lisa was like, that's never happening. This girl's never hanging out with me.
Yeah, I didn't say it out loud, but I just was like, sure, yeah, we should hang out, go to the mall, because there's a mall close by to where we went to school. And then, and that night, even, during waiting for the show to start, we were comparing like the jeans we were wearing, and we shopped at the same stores, and I had no idea. I just didn't think that, we would have so much in common. But when she was like, yeah, we should hang out, I was like, oh yeah, sure, sure we should. And I just said to myself, I will probably never hear from her, and everything's gonna be fine.
Well, she heard from you like the next day or that night. And that was February 11th. And we spent 2 weeks talking 24/7, hanging out,
Yeah.
realizing that there was just some crazy connection between us. Those butterfly, nervous feelings, being kids, being in college, not really being fully aware, at least for me, of like my sexuality and just saying like, what is happening? And so it was February 11th was the day we met. And on February 24th, I said on the phone to Lisa, if you were a guy, I would marry you tomorrow. And she said, yeah, we have to talk about that. I think I'm falling in love with you. And we've been together ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what fairy tales are written from.
That's what people say all the
So
time.
crazy.
Yeah.
And so then we got married 10 years later on our 10th anniversary. So February 24th, 2011, we got officially married in Connecticut because it was not yet legal in New York. So we signed the papers there on our 10th anniversary. And then we had a big wedding in Brooklyn with our friends and family on February 26th. So we celebrate February 11th, February 24th, and February 26th. And then the icing on the cake is that our son came 8 weeks early on February 28th.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
We were like, yo, kid, you crashed our month of love.
We spent we spent our which anniversary while you were in the
20
hospital?
21 years.
21 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spent our 21st anniversary, 11 years married, while Michelle was admitted to labor and delivery. So
Yeah.
I went out that morning and got us some breakfast. And yeah,
He came 2 days
we
later.
came 2 days later.
That's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
8 weeks early. So they had you at the hospital. They had you hooked up to everything. They were trying to give you all of the things that they could give you to keep things from progressing forward if they could.
Yeah, yeah. And whenever you're ready, we can talk about the birth story. But yes, we were not expecting that at all. But it happened as it happened. And we were like, you know what? He just wanted to be part of this month of February.
Yeah.
He knew how much this month was fully jam-packed with love. It was
Yes.
absolutely the month for him.
It does make sense, actually. And it's really special that we get to celebrate all the things. We do like our family anniversary now on the 11th, and then our wedding anniversary hasn't really been celebrated since that day.
It's true.
But this year it has to be.
Yeah, this year we have to do something big.
Yeah.
It's too big
Yes.
not to celebrate it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to dive in a little bit to having a baby and
Yeah.
how you decide how you're having a baby, when you decided you wanted to have a family. If you are 2 weeks into your conversation and falling in love with one another and admitting that, how far into the relationship were you before you were like, and kids really, I'd like to see kids on the horizon?
Yeah, sure. We literally, when we like declared our love, 2 weeks after we met, said we're going to be together forever. Like we said, we were never going to be out, but we know we're going to be together forever.
Never gonna be out. We'll tell no one.
But we obviously are telling everyone.
Yep. People
That
picked
didn't
up on it after
yep,
a couple of
didn't
years,
last
right?
long. Yep. Lasted a few months. But when it came to kids, it's a great question. I feel like we always knew we wanted to have kids.
It was never really a question of did I think she wanted to have kids
Yeah.
and vice versa.
I think we just kind of like both were like, yeah, we'll have kids. Like, right?
Right. Like, and we'd
I
like
didn't think in the
figure it out
beginning-
down the line
Yeah.
because back then, the idea of having a child was that it was going to be insanely expensive. We didn't understand what our options would have been
Right.
or would be. And at the time, we didn't have any like really big corporate jobs where there was like this amazing health coverage. So it was just like, yes, we knew we wanted to have a family.
Right.
And we
think
picked out some names like,
Yeah.
oh, this would be a really nice name. And
I think it was once we got married. And I think it was like once we moved to the city. So that would be 2011 that we might have started thinking about it more seriously. And
Yeah.
then I know by like by 2014, we had actually like started running marathons and we're in this new group of friends and we were talking about it all the time, like when we have kids, when we have kids. And some of them were like, you guys, like, you're like 32, like you might want to think about that soon. And we were like, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Like, and
We
we also
also
didn't have
said,
the finances for it at the time,
right.
you know?
I had no idea we had no idea what our health coverage was for it. We had only heard horror stories about what it took to like get health insurance to cover IVF and
Yeah.
fertility treatments. And so we kind of just kept putting it off because it was a hard topic to try to understand.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
think it was 2015 when our sister-in-law was trying with her wife, Lisa's twin. We saw that they had some struggles. And at the time, we knew that like we definitely wanted to have kids, but we never expected that we would struggle.
Mhm.
We thought maybe I would have challenges because I had polycystic ovarian syndrome
Mhm.
since the age of like 18. So in our minds, because we already had been talking about having kids, we were like, I'll try first. And Lisa, since she never had any issues with her cycles, everything seemed very regular. We were like, well, you'll have no issue whatsoever. So, you'll try after me. I actually remember now, I think we did start thinking about it more seriously even sooner than when we got married. 2007, 2008, we started a really big weight loss journey because what just reminded me of it was that I had the polycystic ovarian syndrome and I was very overweight. And one of my OBGYNs at the time had said, if you don't lose weight and get your PCOS under control, you will have a really hard time having children. And it was then that we
Mhm.
actually embarked on that journey with the idea of having children in mind. And so we ended up losing a combined 240 pounds from
Wow.
2008 through 2014 or so.
Hmm.
And I actually got my polycystic ovarian syndrome completely under control. I was seeing like a reproductive endocrinologist at Columbia at the time in New York, in Manhattan. We lived in Astoria in Queens, but we were seeing this doctor at Columbia who was actually monitoring me and checking my levels, and everything looked good. And because I got the PCOS under control, he was like, I don't see any issues. And at that time, I think that was covered by our major medical,
Yeah.
but we were not in any rush to start just yet. And we didn't have like full coverage for IVF yet. It wasn't until Lisa's job offered it
So in 2019, when they sent the insurance open enrollment at
for that
at
January,
my firm for that January,
yeah,
sorry, it was
November.
November 2018, we were notified that my firm was signing on with a fertility benefit called Progeny.
Hmm.
And so basically, our fertility coverage would run alongside our major medical, which would completely cut the cost of out-of-pocket expenses for IVF and fertility treatments. So at that point, it was like, oh, this is a real possibility now because
Yep.
we're not going to have to shell out, 20, 30 grand to try to have a child and whatever
Yeah.
that looks like. And so that's when we sort of started to, that January of 2019, we started
We got really
to
serious
get serious about looking for a donor. But funny enough, Michelle had an injury
from running.
from running,
Yeah.
went to see an orthopedic
Mhm.
doctor, and she shared with Michelle that she had just gotten pregnant or just had a
Yeah,
child. Tell the story. Yeah.
she knew we were wanting to have children, and she knew that like I had just been like, we want to, I just don't know how it's gonna go yet, and like how we're gonna do it. Because it really had been something that was like pretty heavy on our minds. And so we just became friendly. I think I had hurt myself running a few times. And she was like, how's things going with the baby stuff? And I'm like, I'm not sure if at the time we had gotten the coverage. We might have. And I was like, I think it's like a real possibility. And she's like, well, let me tell you something. I was having so many struggles. I had several miscarriages. And I actually started seeing a new doctor, Dr. Brian Levine at CCRM New York, and he's amazing. I'm telling you, you would love him. You guys would get along great. Just set up a call. And I was like, okay. She's like, see if they take whatever coverage you're gonna have. She's like, but just go see him. You will fall in love. So I think we ended up seeing him like maybe that spring. And then we
Yeah.
still hadn't found our donor yet. But we had been looking for a donor for a while.
Mhm.
And we finally, I think it was that November, found our donor. It was like totally kismet. I had a coworker, I was at an event, was like, what's the update? Like, have you found any donors? Like, what's going on with the baby stuff? And I was like, oh, I should look right now. And literally there he was. And like he had only I called California Cryobank immediately and he only had 23 vials left. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna need like 8. And they were like, okay, well, we'll hold them for you. But like you know, you got to get them quick because he's only got 23 left. And it was like I think he only donated like once or twice, so they really didn't have a big supply from him. But he was everything. He was Italian and Irish, so he matched like our ethnicities. He like was really smart. He was really musical. He was an actor.
He was CMV negative.
Yes. And so a big thing was that he was CMV negative because Lisa's CMV negative. So we knew we could both use him. But at the time we were like, oh, we're not going to have any issues. We'll just get 8. Now I wish we bought like, 13. But yeah, so then once we got the coverage, found the donor, that's when everything really kind of kicked into high gear.
Right. So November of 2019, creeping into 2020.
Right.
Right. It's amazing how the world, all you have to say is 2020, or it was almost, or some effect of that, and everybody knows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Michelle was preparing for an IUI, and it was the end of February, coming into the beginning of March, and we had to, we were going to do the IUI,
In
like,
March.
2 or 3 weeks into March, and Dr. Levine was like, we're shutting down. We got to hold up.
Yep.
Sorry, guys. And we were like, wow, this is so nuts.
Yeah.
So he picked back up with us when they could safely reopen with, all the crazy protocols, right? Everything changing in the summertime, July of 2020.
Yep.
Michelle did 2 IUIs, one in July, one in August. Both failed. And that's when we were on the beach in like
August.
Jacob Reese.
No,
or something.
I think we were at
Rockaway. And he called and he was like, I'm sorry, obviously this is getting tough, but I want to save you time and I want to save you cycles for your insurance. I would recommend that you start IVF.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were both like, funny enough, we had just been talking about this.
Yeah, literally moments before he called me.
We were like, we had a feeling, that it possibly like hadn't worked. And so I was like, listen, we only have 8 vials. We've already gone through 2. There was actually my first IUI. There was a bum vial. And so, yeah, isn't that crazy?
That is, you don't hear about that. People don't talk about it, but it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had to thaw, thank God they had it. They had to thaw the second vial. So California Cryobank did replace it, obviously. But so we ended up with 9 of whatever, of the original supply. But so yeah, so we were like, funny, we were just talking about that. We definitely agree. Michelle should do a retrieval next month because I was already in the flow, taking all the things. And we said, but while we're at it, we know that we're not going to do a transfer for Lisa until after Michelle has a baby, but we figure why not do a retrieval for Lisa now? This way we've got 38-year-old eggs rather than 40-year-old eggs, right? So we did the retrieval for Lisa that October, and she ended up with 1 normal. When we did my retrieval in September, we actually ended up with none that were normal. 4 were tested, but none normal.
Okay.
So then I did a second retrieval that November. So we did September, October, November. And that was like a long stretch of IVF and fertility stuff for us. And that August, I ended up with 2 normal embryos.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've now got essentially 4 embryos.
3. So the one normal from Lisa and the 2 normal from me.
From you. Oh, right. Because yours were not, sorry.
Yeah, no.
So then you decide, okay, let's transfer an embryo.
Yeah. So in March so now we're, the end of 2020. They're actually one of my embryos needed a rebiopsy. They hadn't taken a big enough sample. These are all the things you learn, right, as you're going.
Yeah.
Like you just don't even think all of the things that could happen, right? The journey has been completely like whatever you think it's going to be, it is absolutely going to be the opposite of that.
Exactly. And there's zero mystery, right? You hear people talk about, just finding out that they're 6 months pregnant and they had no idea. And you're thinking, I actually knew 6 minutes along this path because there's not an ounce of mystery in it.
Yes. There are no secrets with IVF. You know it all. We know almost too much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So he had called in December with the results from the November retrieval. He's like, okay, I've got good news and I've got like other news. And we were like, okay, like what's the good news? He's like, the good news is that you've got a 5AA male embryo, beautiful, perfect,
Yeah.
normal, like the best. And I was like, okay. Now, funny enough, like I always saw myself having a daughter. So when he said that, I was like, okay. And like, obviously amazing, right?
Yes.
My
Yeah.
son is the
Yeah.
greatest thing ever. So like in hindsight, I'm like, thank God, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, we've got one other. They didn't take a big enough sample. He's like, so we're going to do a rebiopsy. So at the time I thought, okay. And I said, that's going to be fine? He said, it should be totally fine. Like, okay. So they sent that one out. And then we found out a month later in January that it was a normal 4AA female. And so
Okay.
in my mind, I was like, okay, well, we always thought we were going to have a daughter. We're like, great. So we're going to transfer the female 4AA first.
Right.
So that was January that he told us. And we set up for a cycle for March. Did the transfer. I got pregnant and everything was going along. You get checked every week. And then at the 6 week scan, he was like, okay, I don't see like the flicker that I'm supposed to see. Let's give it another week. And so then I think by week 7 or 8, or I think it
Yeah.
was by week 7, he was like, it looks like this embryo hasn't developed past 6 weeks. So unfortunately, that resulted in a miscarriage. And then we gave it a little time. We ended up buying a house that May. And then we closed on our house and moved in July 31st. And we had our transfer for Leo on August 5th. And I found out on my birthday, August 13th, that I was pregnant.
You guys really like to just jam things together on a calendar, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen,
Listen.
we try so hard not to, but the universe just does not allow it. It
Doesn't
likes to
listen.
create as much chaos for us as possible. It's like, let's see what you can handle now.
And like we ended up leaving the city because, when COVID happened, a lot changed. And like
Sure.
we realized like we want a backyard, we want a driveway. Like we wanted to raise kids in the city so badly, but we were just like, we should look back on Long Island where our family is. And actually, I was in the middle of my miscarriage in that early May when her aunt, who's a realtor, was like, listen, I have this house. I know you don't want to live in the town that Lisa grew up in, but you have to come and see it. It's everything you want. And it was a really tough weekend, but we came to see the house. We walked in and we were like, oh, yeah, this is it. It was like so easy. It was during a time when like bidding wars were happening
Oh
and
yeah.
like,
It was
Yeah.
chaos. It was chaos.
yeah.
It was chaos. But we had the easiest time. So as much as we love to like jam everything together, definitely something was on our
Yeah.
side.
It just worked out.
It
Yeah.
worked out
Yeah.
so easy. There was really no stress about it. Just the typical stress of, okay, packing up an apartment, finding movers, things like, and then, but also enduring miscarriage at the same time.
Yeah, and then it all worked out. And then that July and August, we ended up going back and forth a little bit, back to Manhattan for the transfer protocols. And then obviously all of my monitoring, I had to go back to the city. But now even so, we still see Dr. Levine, right? And we'll talk
Mhm.
more about our journey since then, but we would never change it. So that's really the only thing that's kind of annoying is we miss those COVID days when you could
Right.
just drive downtown to the doctor with no
And it was
traffic.
so
Right.
quick. It was the best. Never again.
Nope. No.
Hopefully never again, right?
Right. Yes, that is the plan. Never again. Once you actually got pregnant and were noticeably pregnant, even in your own self and moving forward, how did your pregnancy go and your labor and your birth? I mean, you birthed early, and
Mhm.
so clearly something wasn't typical in there, but
Right.
how did all of that go for you?
So I had a lot of anxiety, I think, because of the first pregnancy, right? And like
Of course.
just the fear of like messing something up, right? And like in hindsight, I wish I could have enjoyed it a little bit more.
Hmm.
I hope if I have the opportunity to be pregnant again that I can. But right, who's to say? So there was just so much riding on it, right? It was like my last embryo and like the first one happened the way it happened. So there was a lot of fear and anxiety. I was afraid to exercise. I was just afraid to do the wrong thing. But everything was going great. Every test was normal. Every test, he was growing amazingly. We did because I'm older, like I was high risk. So they did like everything, the nuchal, right? Like all the things they
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
the blood work, whatever. We knew it was a normal embryo, so we didn't have to do any of that kind of other testing. But yeah, I mean, he was looking good every time. It was actually around November. So what was I like 16 weeks? It was right before Thanksgiving. I did wake up one morning with bleeding, which was terrifying.
Hmm.
Went to labor and delivery. Turned out I had like a little bit of a placenta previa. So some of the placenta
Okay.
had actually been in front of my cervix. So that was what had caused the bleeding. That actually ended up resolving, which was great.
Hmm.
Then December, I slipped in the shower and fell. And so, or getting out of the shower, I slipped, right? And
Hmm.
I like crashed down on the shower door. Yeah, it wasn't great.
Ouch.
So I called the
Yeah.
doctor and she was like, just to be safe, go to labor and delivery. Monitored us, everything was fine. Got through December, got through January. Again, not really fully embracing or enjoying every minute, right? Like I didn't take a lot of big bump pictures because I really also was not showing that much. I'm like have little bit of a larger statue as well. So like, I guess every woman shows differently, but I didn't have a huge bump. So that paired with my anxiety, I was just like, I can't really settle into this. I don't know if I like felt something coming. Every visit, they would test my urine. Everything was fine. Obviously, they tested my blood. There were a few times when my liver enzymes were funky, but like nothing they thought was crazy. They were like, could be diet. Again, paired with the fact that the urine tests were normal, they were obviously looking for preeclampsia, but nothing ended up coming of those tests. It wasn't until the week of our anniversary. So it was that Tuesday before our anniversary.
Yes.
Yeah. So February 22nd. I had had a headache for like 2 days. And I was like, you know what? Let me just take my blood pressure. And, thankfully, like when you are older and you are high risk, you kind of know all the things to look for. I had been taking my blood pressure at home. Obviously, that fear and anxiety kind of was always with me. So, like, let me take my blood pressure. So, I was getting readings of like 150 over 90. And I was like,
Okay.
okay, this isn't great. And I had been normal pretty much
Yes.
all along.
Hmm.
And so we called labor and delivery. They're like, yep, go get checked out. So this was our third trip to labor and delivery, right?
Yes.
So again, hooked us up to the monitoring. When I was there, blood pressure normalized and everything seemed okay. And they were like, okay, what we're gonna do though to be safe is we're gonna send you home with the 24-hour pee jug. So you have to
Right.
pee in this jug for 24 hours and then bring it to your OB's office. And we were like, okay. Poor Lisa. I know how much I pee. I said, you better give me 2 jugs.
Yeah.
So that Thursday, the 24th, which was our one of our anniversaries, Lisa took the jugs in and they were like, wait a minute, Michelle needs to come get blood work. And I was like, okay. So Lisa came home. I went back up for blood work. I think you drove me back up.
Yeah.
Um, so did my blood work. So then we go to bed that night. We wake up Friday morning. I had all these missed calls from my doctor. So that was Friday, February 25th. And she was like, Michelle, we got your blood work. We got your urine tests back. You need to come see us immediately. So we were like, oh God. Okay. So we got ourselves together. We went to the doctor. I like Lisa tells this part the best.
So we're in the room. They've got the MFM and our OB, and they're looking at Michelle and they're like, it's not great.
Oh.
You have to go to labor and delivery now. Michelle's like, excuse me? And they were like, now. You don't stop home. You don't go anywhere. You don't have lunch. You don't go shopping. You go to labor and
You
delivery.
don't even pack a bag.
You don't pack a bag. You go to the labor and delivery now. And Michelle goes, can I go get my eyebrows done? Our doctor, Dr. King, she is everything. Tiny woman. No, Michelle, you cannot go get your eyebrows done. You have to go to labor and delivery. But I haven't had my baby shower. That's okay. My baby was at my baby shower. You have to go to labor and delivery immediately. So
Basically, my liver enzymes were very high.
Mhm.
My platelets were lower
the
and yeah,
proteins
the proteins were in the
were in the
urine.
urine.
So they were like, you gotta go.
Yeah.
And they were like, listen, the goal is that we're gonna get you to 34 weeks. You're probably gonna get admitted. You have to be monitored, and we're gonna get you as far as we can get you. But we just need you to be there.
And like
Right.
ideally, right, when you were 32.
I was
No,
30.
sorry, you're 31 and 6.
Yes, I became 32 weeks that Saturday.
Right.
Yeah.
So 31 and 6, they're like, we're going to try to get you as far as you possibly can. Ideally, we want you 34. It would
Yeah.
be great if you were 36, but we're gonna hope we're gonna start with the
Yeah,
34
I was
weeks. And
like,
we're
no, I
like,
could be in the hospital for a month. They were like, yeah. We're like, okay.
okay, so here we go.
Yay.
Yeah.
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 So we were ready to go and we're on our way to the hospital. And the road that we have to take to the hospital
Hospital passes
passes.
the eyebrow salon.
So I said, pull over, driver, pull over
Oh my gosh.
to my driver. And yes, I got my eyebrows done.
Yeah, that's a good wife, right? You're like,
Right?
I mean, come on.
We
It's
didn't
not going
have
to take
lunch,
long,
but we got our eyebrows done.
I was so anxious. We should have had lunch. That is what we
retrospectively.
should have had.
Yeah.
That's what we should have had. Grabbed something, ate it in the car, and then showed up at the
Yeah.
hospital because then they wouldn't let you eat for like
I
ever. You were
know.
starving.
Yeah. Yeah, they were like, let's wait and see what happens. So
Yeah.
I was like, damn, I should have ate. But
Like,
at least my
your
eyebrows
eyebrows
are
look
done.
Hold on for just a moment. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Rowan Jete Knox. My partner Danny Gaeta and I were on the Becoming Baby Ready podcast this past fall, talking about our new baby, an inclusive, community-driven coffee shop and wine bar we're opening. It's called Understory, and it's situated in the heart of Toronto's LGBTQ plus village. Well, after 9 long months of building out this dream, and no, I'm not kidding, it's really been 9 months, I'm thrilled to tell you our doors will be opening this month, and we can't wait to welcome you there. So I hope to see you near the end of January, Toronto. Check out understorycafe.com and our socials for updates.
Yeah, so they admitted me that Friday. And I will say, like, as a two-mom family, like, I don't even know that I was anxious, like, about how we would be treated at the hospital, but everyone was amazing. Like, no one made Lisa feel like anything other than, the other parent. We had such a great experience in labor and delivery. We had such a great experience the whole time we were at the hospital
We were
and the
very
NICU.
lucky.
We were very lucky. Yeah.
We also chose an OB that made me feel like I was part of the process,
Yeah.
which was really important. And we had another two mom couple friends, longtime friends, who also delivered at that hospital. So
With
we
those-
knew
yeah.
that with those same OBs. So we kind of knew that we were going to be received okay or well. And it was better than we could have even expected.
good.
It was amazing.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like, we think about them like they're such an integral part of our story that it's like they're the family they don't even know they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yes, we got admitted that night, and the next day was our anniversary, our wedding anniversary. So like Lisa said, we had breakfast in the hospital, but we started to realize like, okay, we need to make a lot of adjustments here. So like our family quickly got on the horn. Everyone kind of rallied, came over to the house, started like receiving a bunch of gifts for us, bringing gifts for us, helping to set up the nursery because nothing was set.
Right,
He
of
wasn't
course.
coming for 8 more weeks.
We like put up wallpaper and that's
Yeah,
it.
we had gotten him like a rug, the crib, the changing table. I don't even think the crib had arrived yet. The wallpaper we put up, we literally put the wallpaper up Super Bowl Sunday. And like, thank God we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were definitely not ready. And our shower was supposed to be March 12th or
Something like
or
that.
13th. And so we said to our family, like, push it to May. He's gonna be here, but push it. So they pushed it to May 15th, and just everyone kind of rallied around us. Lisa actually, I think, a couple of times over that weekend had to go back and forth, to be here with the family to help get everything together, clothes, laundry. Oh my God, the laundry that our family did to get everything ready. My mom came up and stayed with me on that Sunday afternoon, but it was that Sunday morning. It was funny enough, Lisa and I had been talking about the fact that I had been on magnesium. So when you have preeclampsia, right, you get on the mag bag like
Yep.
right away.
Yep.
And basically it prevents seizures and it kind of like suppresses your whole nervous system. I didn't feel terrible on the mag bag. I actually will say like I didn't have a terrible pregnancy in terms of how I felt. I didn't even feel terrible with preeclampsia. I ended up having an amazing C-section. Like my recovery went great. Like I was very lucky with the circumstances we had that everything went as best as it could.
Right.
So we were on I was on the magnesium. We were talking about it and I was like, listen, if I need to be on this magnesium and they're going to give me Pitocin to try to induce me whenever the time is, I was like, I'm not going to do that. And then magnesium suppresses the nervous system. Pitocin's supposed to advance labor. And then I'm going to end up in an emergency C-section anyway. I was like, I don't think that makes any sense. I was
Right.
like, if they give me the option, I think I'm just gonna say, let's just do a C-section. And Lisa
Right.
was like, great, like totally
I had
support
said
that.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm
Yeah.
glad we're talking about this.
Right.
Well, 10 minutes later, they come in
Sunday
and they
morning.
tell Michelle that she has now developed HELP syndrome.
Yeah.
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 Everything is off the charts.
Which is
And they
liver
said,
related for those who
right,
are listening who
Yeah.
don't know, which is where your elevated liver enzymes have come into the picture.
Right. So
Mhm.
it's the elevated liver enzymes and it's the lowered blood platelets. So at
Yes.
that point, they said that the level I was at, they're like, something like, I don't even know, 42 or something. I was like, that doesn't sound bad. They were like, no, you are literally bordering liver failure.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
that is bad. And we were like, oh. And they're like, and you've got the lower platelets. So no, this is not okay. This baby needs to come today.
Yeah.
So they wanted to induce me that day.
right. And so we were so grateful that we literally minutes before had just had this
Yeah.
conversation and we negotiated a C-section the next day
Yeah. We were like,
instead. And they looked at each other and they were like, okay, we can do that. And they were like, one more request. Can you try to get Dr. King to come in and do it for me? Because we are so terrified.
yeah.
Sure.
And like we also heard that Dr. King was like the best. So yeah, she did. She came in. She came in for it.
They were like, you know what, it actually works out because she can come here tomorrow. You don't want to be induced. Because if they induced me on Sunday, he might not come till Monday anyway. So I think with me being like, no, I just would like to have a C-section on Monday instead, they were like, okay. And it's probably better for them because it's the weekday. And yeah, so we waited all day that Monday. It was supposed to be earlier. And so I'm really into astrology. So all day I'm looking at his chart and I'm like, okay, so if he's born at this time, he'll have this rising sign. If he's born at this time, he'll have that rising sign. I was like, I really hope Dr. King can make it here so that we knew his name was going to be Leo and I'm a Leo and I wanted him to have Leo rising. And I was like, but if we have it after 6, he's going to have Virgo rising. Well, 6:27 p.m.
Yeah.
It just really goes to show you that you can plan and prep and like think you want things to go. I mean, also having a Pisces child, we just never expected it.
Never
We
expected.
thought he
A
was going to
winter
be,
child.
oh yeah, all the things, right? You plan as a same-sex couple, you can plan so many things, right?
Yeah.
But the
can.
universe kind of laughed at us every time we tried to plan.
Yeah. Yeah, one of his NICU mates, her mom wound up having to cut us in line for the C-section. She was in worse shape.
Yeah.
So we had to wait. Yeah, I'll never forget walking down the hall and seeing another woman getting wheeled out of her room and she didn't look great. And I was like, oh no. Oh no, she's cutting us. And I was like, looks like she might need it more than we do.
Yeah,
I was like,
right?
sorry, babe. I don't think it's going to be a Leo rising. I think they just took someone in.
Yeah. But then you think, okay, if they can push mine, then that's
Right.
actually a good thing for me. That tells
Right.
me that baby's not as
Yes.
desperate as I fear that they are, right? Because
Right.
Yeah.
because like you say, you have no control. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you're like, nope, that means you push me down if you need to, so that somebody else who needs it more, because that
Yeah.
means I don't need it
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
as
And
much.
it really all kind of just happened so naturally and so beautifully. I mean, I was able to just kind of have a day where I was at peace and I was very calm. I wasn't really nervous. It was kind of crazy. I couldn't eat from the night prior and all that day. And somehow I was like, okay. And Lisa was like, she's like, how are you so calm? And I literally walked into the operating room, sat on the table, and the nurse was like, she told Lisa, what did she say to
She
you?
came to get me, to go into the operating room and I'm all anxious, the needle and all this. And, the nurses have been working with us like for the last few days or they're looking at me. They're like, they could tell I was like white as a ghost and didn't know what to do. And the operating, room nurse comes and she goes, I don't know who your wife is. We have never seen a woman get on the table like that. Like, get ready for the epidural shot. They were like, we all looked at each other like we didn't even know, like, who is this person? We've never experienced a patient like this before. And I was like, yep, sounds like Michelle.
Yeah.
Like literally had like 4 wisdom teeth pulled with only Novocaine.
Yeah.
Yep, this is my wife. Yeah.
There you go.
I was ready to slay that operating room. I walked
Yeah.
in, I sat down, I hugged on to the nurse. They did it. I laid down, and that
It
was
was
it.
done. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then he came.
He came out crying, which
Yeah.
I was so relieved.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was really relieved that he was screaming because we didn't, at that t at 32 weeks, the main concern is the respiratory
Yeah.
development.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was breathing and screaming just fine, that was very promising.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
For
and I
sure.
also said he has hair. So yeah, thank God for that.
Yeah, we spent 5 weeks in the NICU. It definitely wasn't easy. But breastfeeding was very hard because he wasn't with me, because he came early, because he was a C-section, right? A lot of factors. But I
Right.
pumped every 3 hours. He got my breast milk the whole first month, which was wonderful. But he suffered a little bit with his lung development. But obviously it wasn't as bad as it could have been because he was 32 weeks. He had a little bit of an infection like the first week. They were able to treat it and he was okay. And then it was really bradycardia episodes. He was in the grower and feeder section of the NICU for weeks, really the longest of his stay,
Mhm.
just waiting for the lung development to be able to handle food. But really, ultimately, he had really bad reflux. And that did kind of plague the first year of his life, as well as a dairy allergy. So we went through a lot. Really, if you think about this timeline, right, from like can we have kids? Is it a financial something we can handle financially? Getting the insurance, starting the journey, many, many years, right? So
Yeah.
he was born in February of 2022. So, I guess for anyone listening, like it is, it could go easy,
Yeah.
right? It could be a
Sure.
long haul, and we're actually still in the journey, still in the haul.
Yep. So, going through, the whole NICU, we got Leo home in April, close to his due date, which
Mhm.
was great. Well, weeks ahead of his due date, really. April 5th, he came home.
Yeah.
And navigating motherhood, it was nothing. People don't tell you. They say it's hard, but they don't really tell you.
Yeah.
They don't.
No.
I'll never forget it, and I tell everybody. I'm like,
Right.
I don't know what anyone's talking about, that like you forget this stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell it to you straight right now.
Yep.
But it was a joy raising Leo, in his early days. And we decided to try to transfer my embryo in December of 2022.
Okay.
And it was probably,
So it was a 6AA. And what we actually learned later, right? For anyone who's listening, you heard 5AA, 4AA, 6AA. So 6AA is the highest grade embryo you can have
Right.
because what means is that it's actually hatched the most,
Mhm.
but it's actually the most fragile because it's hatched the most.
Right. Mhm.
So in transfer, it has that much more like risk because it's already hatching. Um, and if you think about like the way an embryo likes to implant into the uterine wall, I assume, right, while it's hatching, it's kind of implanting.
Mhm.
So the fact that it was already hatched a bit, right, like how much more can it implant? I don't know. I'm sure there's been 6AAs that have implanted just fine, but they
Yep.
just can be more fragile embryos. So
right.
unfortunately, we had the fragile embryo, and then Lisa had a very strange reaction to her transfer. She ended up with a very bad UTI
Oh.
just days after her transfer. And we don't know if it was a reaction to the embryo, if it was just a freak thing that happened.
Yeah.
Because I've never actually in my whole life ever had a UTI. I'm a lucky one.
Right.
And I was like, what is this? And it was very bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was like, there's no way. There's no way that this
Really.
embryo implanted. And then I tried to be positive and hopeful, but it like didn't even try. It didn't even register. Like
Yeah.
Dr. Levine called me with the results, and it didn't even nothing.
Mhm.
It did nothing. So we realized, obviously, okay, what do we have left in coverage? How are we going to handle this?
We waited a bit.
We did.
Yeah, we waited until the next fall of 2023, because that had been December of 2022. And I think we just needed some time and some
Yeah.
space. And we were like, at this point, let's just wait for the fall again. And that was kind of where the beginnings of the struggles that kind of continued for Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I had cycles that had to be canceled. I had from the course of the fall of 2023
To January.
to January of 2025, I wound up doing they'll say 5 rounds of IVF, but only 2 retrievals resulted from that.
Okay.
So I had 3 canceled cycles.
Yeah.
Like every other cycle, it was
Yeah.
like it was canceled, then we retrieved, then it was canceled, canceled,
Yeah.
retrieved.
And like we went from doing like the cycle day 1 start to the luteal start, they tried everything.
They were trying
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Just let's throw an HGH.
Right.
Let's change this. Let's change that. Lose some weight. Take
Do
a
a detox.
GLP-1, GLP-2. Do a detox. I was doing everything.
Right.
And
Acupuncture,
chiropractic, like anything that you could think of that, I was doing it. And so come January of 2025.
Yeah, we thought so. I'm just going to finish for her because it's so emotional. But the first one she had the fall of 2023, she did get a few eggs. I don't remember the count.
It was 3
with-
that fertilized.
Yeah, and they didn't go past
day 3
day 3 or something like
Right.
that. And then the next retrieval, which was January of 2025, we were so hopeful. She had a bunch of follicles. Like everyone was so excited.
Yeah, the doctors were really hopeful.
Yeah.
Everything looked really good. Everything was growing. Everything was growing properly. The eggs were at a great rate, the size, everything. So it was like the most hopeful I had ever felt.
Yeah, and so she went in for retrieval, and the doctor went into the follicles to retrieve the eggs, and all of the follicles were empty.
Well,
It-
one was just like a ball of weird cells.
Yeah,
The other ones were empty.
but they got nothing. So
Yeah.
that was just like the rock bottom moment for Lisa. And I'm not sure if anyone or if you even saw Sam, but we've been interviewed by the Wall Street Journal. They've been following our journey since 2023 when Lisa had that retrieval.
Yeah.
So they followed us for 2 years, and they talk about how it was like that rock bottom moment. Now, anyone who read the article, we did not spend $300,000 out of pocket, right? It was to
Right.
put into perspective
Right.
that if someone was to do 10 rounds of IVF at $30,000 a round, it's $300,000
That's
to do
right.
IVF,
Right.
right? With the meds, with everything. We estimated that we spent about $75K out of pocket on all the things we did over all the years, right? And some of the comments were not so kind on Facebook, like give up, adopt, we want to give our son a sibling. So we did what we could, and we wanted Lisa to have a biological child. That was kind of our dream, that we would each carry a child. And that's how our family would be made. And so when it came to that end of that January, Dr. Levine called us when we were finally ready to talk, the very end of January after her retrieval. And Lisa was ready to say, like, I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
I
not
did
doing
that.
this.
That's
Yeah.
what I did say.
Yeah.
I said, he's like, so how are you feeling? I was like, I'm finished. Don't talk to me about this. We're gonna go back to Michelle. If we're gonna do this again, we're gonna have Michelle do another retrieval.
Yeah.
And we said it has to be when we have money. Like we don't have anything else. Like we ran out of insurance, we ran out of money. We're done.
Yeah.
Like we got a loan already. Like we can't do this anymore. He was like, listen, you might want to give up on me, but I'm not giving up on you. And he's like, this is my idea. I want you to talk to Dr. Amy, the egg whisperer. I want you to both just continue to lose weight. I want you to do exactly what Dr. Amy recommends. And in a few months, I want to test you both, and I want to see who seems like a better candidate. He's like, I agree we should put Michelle back in the equation, but I don't agree that Lisa is done. So Lisa was like, okay. She's like, I'm not having any hope, but I will do it. So we did. We both.
And I didn't not have hope in like a negative way.
Yeah.
Just like the writing was on the wall for me.
She didn't want to be disappointed.
I was
And
gonna say, you
could
didn't want to
not
get your
be
hopes
heartbroken
up.
again. Yeah. I could not be heartbroken again because I was devastated
Yeah.
with that last retrieval.
Because it's like, every family is different, right? We have a lot of 2-mom families and 2-dad families that we know. And it's like in some 2-mom families, you will have the mom who knows she wants to carry, and you will have the mom who knows that's just not for her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you will have some 2-mom families where both want to carry. You'll have some 2-mom families that do reciprocal, right? Where maybe the mom who doesn't want to carry is willing to do the portion where her eggs are retrieved. Every single family
It's
is
different.
made differently. And so for us, like we both had a desire to have and carry a biological child. We also would have done reciprocal. Like if Lisa,
Yeah, if we had like an abundance
yeah,
of embryos,
Sure.
like yeah, we would
yeah.
have totally done
So
reciprocal.
we just knew that we both wanted to carry and we both would have liked to have had a biological child. So, you know, that was just like the end of a kind of a dream for Lisa. And so when Dr. Levine kind of reassessed us after we did all the protocols, so Dr. Amy tested our AMH in June, and then Dr. Levine retested our AMH in August. We both went in for baseline monitoring within a few days of each other. And then he called us. This was this past August of 2025. And he was like, look, the wise choice is to go with Michelle. So let's do it. So I ended up having another retrieval this past August. And he said, let's go with Michelle for the egg, but I would like to see reciprocal. I would like to see Lisa be able to at least carry. And we were like, we're on board for that. You know, I think Lisa at that point had kind of already said, like, I'm not trying this again. It's going to be you, and that's fine. If I can carry, amazing. You know, we'll see how it goes. So I just had a retrieval myself this past August. They retrieved 8 eggs. And
7.
unfortunately, I think it
It was 7.
was 7.
Mhm.
Lucky 7, you're
Lucky
right. They
7.
retrieved 7 eggs. And none of them made it to the final stage of development. So
Right.
kind of regrouped with them again. Oh, and the way that actually it became possible, um, and this is also in the article, is that in exchange for us sharing about our journey and tagging CCRM and Dr. Levine, they gifted us a cycle, you know, to do this last round. So that was a total unexpected gift. We were happy to do it. We always share about our journey anyway, because we think people don't talk about IVF enough.
Yep.
And,
It's
you know,
true.
whether you're a straight couple, you're a same-sex couple, you know, there's just so much about it that people don't understand. So we're like, yes, we're happy to always share about it. And I think they really appreciate that, not just to share about our experience with them, but just to show other families, you know, what it really is like. So unfortunately, that retrieval, we didn't get anything. And at that point, we were like, okay, well, we're done. That's it, you know. And he's like, all right, well, let's see. And I was like, if we have another opportunity, you know, if we get insurance again, because Lisa, you know, was like, I don't know, my firm could offer more benefits. We'll see, you know, at some point. So, um, we were like, if the opportunity came, then we would try again with me. But as of now, we're done.
We got a lot of great data from that though.
Yeah.
From that cycle on, where Michelle's egg reserve was at and how she responded to the protocol from Dr. Amy
Hmm.
and things that she would do a little differently,
Hmm.
you know.
It wasn't
So
a total
it
waste.
wasn't a total waste.
Hmm.
And that's the way I continued to have hope throughout all of my cycles. I was like, okay, we have more information now. Now
Sure.
we can tweak more, all of that. So it's, Dr. Amy is, everybody was on board to wait for us to see what happened in the new year. And turns out that my firm doubled the fertility coverage for all employees for 2026. So we,
Wow.
instead of, we had exhausted our 4 original cycles, but now we get 4 more.
Yep.
So we get to
Try again.
try again without, draining our life
Savings.
savings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly not a life savings right now, but
Yeah.
But what's important to share is that it isn't always easy for all people. And just because you both have uteruses doesn't mean that that automatically says that you're going to be able to become the kind of parents or parents the way you want to become parents. And I
right.
think that that piece gets overlooked a lot. A lot of people kind of assume, well, if one of you can't find, because we see lots of same sex or opposite sex couples not be able to have a baby, but if you've both got a uterus, then I'm sure that just doubles your odds. But it doesn't necessarily. And then you have to navigate that. You have been through as a couple and as a family huge, absolutely enormous obstacles that all by themselves, one at a time, one of these would be a huge obstacle. You've got them now stacked on top of each other. How are you navigating that individually and as a couple to be able to be there for Leo the way Leo deserves you to be?
Yeah, that's a great question. What do you think?
Well, with every failed cycle for me, and especially coming up to the this last one in January, where I knew that the road, was the end of the road for me. There's just that gratitude to the fact that we do have him.
Right.
And I want to, no matter what, we want to give him his best life. And knowing that through all of this stress, what we're trying to do is to create a family for not just for us, but for him. And I think that notion of family and growing our family and having a sibling for him, God willing, they love one another and they are, best friends in the future. That sort of carried us through all the obstacles. And also kind of having him in a sense, as much as it made it harder to get to like appointments and do the medications and everything else, it also was a welcome um pull of my attention
Right.
towards like the goodness. We were, as much as we were trying to grow the family in the uterus, and the ovaries, this child right here is exactly what needed our our love and focus and attention. And it's so interesting how you do it all.
Just keep going.
You just keep going, and you do it all, because like that is what the dream is. That is what the desire is. When we were being interviewed by the Wall Street Journal, the journalist asked us, well, was there any point in time where you thought that you would do something else with your money if you weren't spending it on IVF? And we literally could not answer that question.
Yeah.
Because we also lived our life before we even started this process.
Right.
We traveled. We lived in,
City.
we lived in Manhattan. That's where we wanted to be. We worked in Manhattan. That's where we wanted to work. We had fulfilled so many other desires that then once we came up against, once we came to the idea of, okay, we're going to start a family, that was our sole focus and purpose and dream. And so taking care of Leo on top of trying to expand the family, it almost
went hand in hand.
It went hand in hand.
Yeah.
And the hardest part was me having to realize that the dream of it happening exactly how I thought it would was over, and like that grieving process. But looking at him never made me like, and having to be his mother, like that was like exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
Exactly what I need.
And I would say too, like we've been together since we're 18. We've grown through every phase of life together.
Right.
We've been through bankruptcy. We've been through our first apartment. We planned a wedding,
a major family
Yeah,
death.
I lost my dad. We lost our, Lisa's grandmother. We've lost so many people, grandfather. My sister had a big accident. I mean, we've been through it all together, being there for our parents, our siblings. And we truly are an amazing team and a really strong, like solid rock for each other. We don't stop moving. Like literally, like something happens and we're like, okay, what are we doing next? Right. And like we're always on the same page, which is amazing. Like we're always just like, no, we're not gonna let this get us down. Like let's figure it out.
Yeah.
And if one of us is down,
Yeah.
we give each other space and let each other have a moment, and just like however you want to move forward. Like we've never really been, even in parenting.
Yeah.
Like when things get hard, like we look at each other and I'm like, help. Or she's like, help.
Or we'll just
like,
laugh.
how are we doing this?
Yeah, I think we're lucky to have each other. I see a lot of couples, doesn't matter what your couple looks like, right? Like things get them down and they can't get through it. And, that's hard. And, we also both go to therapy, right? We've both seen counselors together because we have experienced so much. We want to make sure that we're great parents. So we have great family and friends and support. We're so lucky for that. We obviously don't have the weight of the world entirely on our shoulders, just the two of us. We do have a pretty good group of friends and family who are super supportive. Like our little village. Not everyone can be, present to always babysit Leo, but they're always here for us. So we're very lucky to have that village too.
For sure.
Did we answer the question?
You did. You did answer the question. I want to ask you to tell everybody a little bit about the podcast that you host.
Yeah, sure. So last December, right? We want to talk about all the things we've been through. Last December 2024, I got laid off from my corporate job. So I said, you know what? We've been talking for years about growing on social media, being content creators, being digital marketers, right? And we did a podcast back in the day, and I was like, let's just do it again. Let's just, we share our journey on social media, but let's bring it back to the podcast platform. So we have the Cast Compass podcast. We talk about our fertility journey.
We talk about all things
Yeah.
of like where we are in our lives right now, which is mostly IVF, motherhood, a little astrology mixed in, a little changing course, right? If you're in your life and you feel like you need a change, you're not sure where to start or how to start or what you're gonna experience. So we share our experience. Michelle shares her experience with that on how to pivot and use tools to kind of make the leap of doing what you're most passionate about. We do believe that when you do what you're most passionate about, everything will follow. And that's sort of, I guess.
And I kind of feel like you put it best, Sam, without even realizing it, the way you said you've been through all these things, right? Individually, like individual things that layered together are a lot of things, right? Like big things that could be a big thing for anyone in a moment, but you've got a bunch of them stacked up.
Right.
And that's kind of what we talk about on the podcast. It's like how we get through these things, how we come together, right? And if it's the little things like, oh, Leo's not sleeping, right? We're not sleeping. And it's the big things. We lived through the NICU for 5 weeks. And it's this is how we started our family. And Lisa's IVF journey didn't go as planned. Like we just kind of talk about it all because we like to show people that like that is what life is. It is those series of things you go through stacked up together or individually that you just get through. And this is kind of how we've done it. And we want to inspire and motivate other people. It actually started for us with sharing our weight loss journey back in 2013 when we actually started our first podcast, because people would always ask us like, how do you guys do it? And we were like, well, we actually did it a bunch of different ways, so maybe we should talk about it on a podcast. So we did. And now this is kind of an evolved version of that.
Yeah, we're sort of implementing the same thing, having the experts on who we've worked with through the IVF stuff, having other people who also show support for, women going through fertility journeys and the difficulty of that. And it's important to us for people to know that they're not alone.
Exactly.
That's it. And I think, you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Exactly. Before I let you go and spend some more time with that beautiful boy of yours, I want you to just briefly tell me, what is your very, very favorite part of parenting Leo?
Oh my God, he's so sweet and fun. I love every part of parenting Leo.
It has been so much fun. Like every single day is different, and he's just become such a little person.
Yeah.
My favorite is hearing just him spontaneously say, "I love you, mommy," or "You look so beautiful, mommy," or "I had so much fun today with you, mommy."
Oh my God. I love like that every phase has been different. And it's like, like people talk about that and it's like you want to hold on to the phase you're in, but then you go to the next phase and it's like, oh wow, this is really cool too.
Yes.
And it's like I obviously want that baby back, right? But at the same time, I'm like, oh, I went out with him on Saturday. And it's so much easier to take him out now that he's almost 4, right? It's like not as much of a hassle. Obviously, the potty is a thing. But like we went we went to the bakery and I took him out of the car and we walked in and he picked what he wanted. We went to another store and he helped me pick something out. And then we went to the grocery store and he just like walked along with me and like he's so good and like fun. And I'm like, so bud, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And he's like, okay, mama. Like they literally become like your little sidekick.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so cool. I'm like, wow, I have a new friend.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. And just being able to, raise him how, I'll say personally, how, raise him differently than I was raised, and give him the things that my parents, they endured so much that they weren't able to necessarily, figure out for me. Like I'm trying to figure it out for him, and just creating a better human being for the world.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good way to say it. Thank you both for taking the time to chat with me today and sharing your story. I sincerely appreciate it, especially given that it hasn't been a sunshine and rainbows all the way along kind of story. There's been hits and misses, and the hurts are enormous. So thank you for your vulnerability and for chatting today.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much for having us. It was great. It was a pleasure.
What you're doing is amazing. So we really appreciate that we were able to be a part of it.
Thank you. As a queer individual with colonial lineage, I want to first acknowledge the land upon which I live and work. Being from what is now known as Burlington, Ontario, I recognize the original ancestry of these lands as they span from Lake Ontario to the Niagara Escarpment and beyond. These lands are steeped in Indigenous history that benefits my community every day. The territory is mutually covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy, the Ojibwe, and other allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. I would like to acknowledge that the land on which I stand is part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. The land dictates everything about our ways of being. Particularly, the land teaches us about fluidity. Concepts of the binary system and heteropatriarchy were imposed by the colonials who were, at the same time, removing children from their homes, families, and all that was familiar to them. These same children were divided by the only two prescribed binaries recognized by the settlers, and they were forced to conform to a performative, gendered falsehood. The land doesn't operate under binary thinking. It is diverse, complex, and unpredictable at times. Rather, the land holds us and all of our remarkable pasts and identities. Every organism and spirit has a purpose. It is from this understanding that I strive to live and grow. Thank you for joining me today on the Becoming Baby Ready podcast. If you have a story that you'd like to share, or you know someone who might, if you're a professional who works in the capacity of helping people start and grow their families, and you identify as being a part of the 2S LGBTQIA plus community yourself, then please don't hesitate to reach out. We always have room for more stories to share, and there's always more learning to do.